The hoofbeats matched Kyrie's racing heart as the Kirin leaped and bounded across the fields toward the Golden Leaf capital. He'd gotten the message a day ago and made little time traveling to the elven city. The Kirin's mane whipped at his face as they entered Golden Leaf and raced for the palace, and his large antlers made the kind elf look menacing as he charged through the dimming light of twilight. Elves, dwarves, and a goblin or two had to dodge out of the way, though the Kirin's grace would have easily dodged them if they didn't notice their passing. Within minutes, they were racing across the arching bridge to the palace grounds, where the Kirin slid to a stop, and Kyrie leaped off, skipping steps at a time as he entered the palace with a knapsack at his side. Being the second largest palace in all of Myth, the Golden Leaf Palace was known for its tall structures and towers and the small forest that was the palace's main garden in the center courtyard. Kyrie passed windows overlooking this garden as a butler guided him to where he was needed. While the walk was only 5 minutes, Kyrie felt it was an hour before the butler opened a pair of gilded doors to reveal a bedchamber. It was a child's room. While elegantly decorated, wooden toys of dragons, knights, and stuffed bears lay scattered here and there. On the bed sat the King Emrys and the Queen Yvain. Between them sat their weeping son, Aster. Emrys looked up at hearing the door open and stood to greet their guest. Aster reached for where his father went, and his mother gently cooed to calm him.
Your Majesty, I came as soon as I got your message.
Kyrie stepped forward and shook the king's hand before embracing him. While it wasn't customary to be so familiar with the royal family, Kyrie was a particular case, being with the royal family since the dawn of Myth itself.
What happened?
A young basilisk found its way into the gardens.
Emrys answered, his voice deep and solemn.
Aster was playing when he stumbled onto it. Thank Terra that it was just a youngster and not fully grown.
Kyrie nodded in agreement, though that news did not give him hope. Even young, a basilisk was very dangerous, as he was sure the young prince learned the hard way.
What was done with it?
After some investigation, we found that it had been pillaging the pigeon coops and the falcon houses. I know you dislike the death of things, but it was put to the blade.
No, it was wise of you to end it. It would have come back when it was bigger, and would have been a bigger problem. Our concern is Aster now.
Kyrie looked at the boy, no older than 5 years, and quietly approached. Hearing the footsteps, Aster tensed and looked up instinctually, and looked past Kyrie with clouded eyes and white pupils. Kyrie pressed his lips together in sorrow. That wasn't a good sight.
Hello there, Aster. My name is Kyrie. We met before, but you were pretty small back then. I heard you had yourself a little adventure.
Aster sniffled as he tried to focus his eyes to see Kyrie.
Father said it was a a basilisk.
It was. You're a very lucky young elf, Your Highness. Let's see about those eyes, though.
He set the knapsack down and pulled a wand from his belt. While he preferred his staff, that was too big of a tool for what was needed here. Flicking the wand in a sigil for light, a little star appeared at the end of the wand, no bigger than the inside of a ring, but bright enough to rival a candle.
Can you follow this light?
Asked the ancient elf, moving the wand from side to side and watching the prince's eyes. His heart sank further as he saw no reaction in the now white pupils, and nearly broke when the prince answered.
What light?
Queen Yvain lifted a hand to the pendant of Terra around her neck and squeezed it at her little boy's question, but she fought to keep herself from making a noise that would further upset her son. Kyrie nodded and gave the wand another flick, banishing the star, before returning the wand to his belt. If he had come sooner, he could have been able to do something. No. A basilisk sight is extremely dangerous on its own. The prince was lucky it was a juvenile he found, and not an adult. If that were so, the elves wouldn't have a prince. Reaching into his bag, he pulled out a gem that was flat on both sides and pearly white. He smiled at Aster and gently laid a hand on his head, lightly messing up his hair.
Mind opening your eyes really big for me?
Aster nodded and did so as Kyrie gently tilted the boy's head up to peer into his eyes with the gem. Aster's eyes didn't react, and with the magnified view from the gem, he could see why. The boy's eyes were petrified, taking on a quartz look about them. He could also see the phantoms that some quartz crystals form within the pupil. The boy's eyes were dead.
Your eyes aren't causing you pain, right?
No, sir. They feel normal. Just a little cold. Will my sight come back?
Kyrie hesitated in answering as he withdrew and put the crystal away.
It's not looking good, kiddo.
Well, can't you do anything?
Emrys asked, an edge in his voice, but Kyrie recognized it as grief as he took a slow breath. This was the hard part.
You're the wandering gardener, the oldest of all elves and holder of every secret of myth.
At hearing Emrys's voice crack, Kyrie lowered his head as he picked up his knapsack and stood again.
I'm so very sorry, Emrys.
No, don't you dare say I'm sorry to me, Kyrie. Tell me my son will be able to see again.
Emrys!
Yvain chided, though there was grief in her voice as well. Kyrie bit his lip as he looked at Emrys, a man he'd seen grow from a tiny baby to a noble king.
I will help as much as possible. But I'm sorry. I can't bring back what's no longer alive. Aster himself is still alive and well, and for a boy to look a basilisk in the eye, that's nothing less than a miracle.
He looked at Aster, offering a smile he knew he couldn't see.
You're a very brave boy, Aster, and you'll no doubt be a very brave king someday.
So, I won't be able to see anymore? Ever?
I'm afraid so, kiddo.
Kyrie knelt before the prince again and placed a hand on Aster's shoulder.
But that doesn't mean you're any less than who you are with sight. I've met many people who can't see, and they always tell me that their other senses make up for what they've lost. Yours will do the same in time.
Kyrie turned his gaze to Yvain, offering a comforting smile to the mother as well.
I can stay for as long as you need me. Help him figure out how to get around without his sight.
The queen nodded instantly, trusting Kyrie.
Our doors are open to you.
Kyrie nodded and looked to the king for his blessing, as a house divided would always fall. While the king was still clearly upset by the news, he eventually nodded. Kyrie would stay and help the prince for as long as he could. The young prince was in for a very long road and a fate that no one could see. Not even Aster himself.
Hey there, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this 100 subscriber special. Starlit Eyes is a spin-off novella prequel to Guardians and Keepers of Myth. This story is a bit slow going, so I'll post the next chapter at 200 subscribers. I want to thank you all for enjoying my stories and supporting them. I'm always experimenting and finding new ways to bring these stories to life. You can help further support my writing by becoming a member of my Ko-fi, where you can get early access to new chapters. Or you can suggest a story by messaging me with a one-off donation. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future chapters or premieres. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.